The story begins with a high school graduate who could not even get into the worst college. Bartleby Gaines received his final rejection letter, and even the lowest-ranked school in the state did not want him. His family could not accept the result at all, especially his father. In his father's eyes, not going to college meant ruining your life before it even started. At the graduation party, Bartleby realized he was not the only one who had been rejected. Hans Holloway, who was great at baseball, Rory Thayer, who had only applied to Yale and got turned down, and his good friend Sherman Schrader all had their own problems. The only difference was that Sherman still had to go to Harmon College so he would not disappoint his family, because generation after generation of his family had gone there. Just as his parents and everyone else were waiting to laugh at him, Bartleby suddenly came up with an idea. Since no school wanted to accept him, he would just forge an acceptance letter himself. So he scanned Harmon College's letter template, redesigned the school crest, and gave this non-existent school a name, South Harmon Institute of Technology. To make the whole act look more real, he also had Sherman build a school website. At first, they only wanted the page to look believable enough to fool Bartleby's father. But Sherman made the site too realistic and even built a working admission system into it. The next morning, Bartleby pretended to know nothing, opened the envelope, and announced on the spot that he had been accepted to South Harmon. His father was skeptical at first, but after checking the website and seeing how official everything looked, he actually believed it. He even handed Bartleby a check for the full tuition right away. To keep the lie from falling apart, Bartleby and Sherman had no choice but to keep making things up. At first, they only wanted to find some random place near Harmon to fake it, but Rory showed them a better option. Right next to Harmon College, there happened to be an abandoned mental hospital. To them, it was the perfect campus. So Bartleby, Sherman, Rory, Hans, Glenn, and the others began turning the abandoned building into a fake college. They even pulled in Sherman's weird-tempered uncle, Dr. Ben Lewis, who had left academia years ago, to pretend to be the dean. At the same time, Harmon College's dean, Richard Van Horn, was planning to build a grand new entrance road to raise the school's status even higher and clear away the old buildings nearby. And South Harmon happened to be sitting right in the area he wanted to redevelop. Just when the fake school was almost ready, Bartleby's father said he wanted to meet the dean in person. With no other choice, the group forced Ben Lewis to step in. They also quickly brought in a bunch of students to fake ordinary campus scenes. In the end, even though Ben Lewis spoke like a complete lunatic, he somehow sounded serious enough. And with everyone else playing along, Bartleby's father was completely fooled and left satisfied. At that point, the whole thing should have ended, but the real trouble was only beginning. On opening day, a huge crowd of freshmen suddenly showed up at South Harmon's entrance, all holding acceptance letters and ready to enroll. Bartleby was stunned. Only later did he realize it was all because of that fully functional website. Anyone who applied to South Harmon was automatically accepted by the system. So all the students who had been rejected everywhere else treated this place like their last hope. Bartleby originally wanted to explain the truth and send everyone home. But when he stood on the stage and was about to confess, one student suddenly raised his hand and said that after getting accepted to South Harmon, it was the first time his parents had ever been proud of him. That one sentence made the entire room go quiet. Bartleby changed his mind on the spot. He first asked if everyone there had applied to other schools, and every hand went up. Then he asked how many of them had actually gotten in anywhere, and every hand slowly dropped. When he saw that, Bartleby decided to go all the way with the lie and officially welcomed everyone to the school. Just like that, this fake South Harmon suddenly began functioning like a real one. But the problem showed up fast. There were no teachers, no library, no real classes, and no real structure that a school was supposed to have. The students treated the place like one giant free-for-all party. They smashed walls to make bigger dorm rooms and kept changing the layout however they wanted. The whole campus looked more like a completely out-of-control experiment than a school. Bartleby knew it could not go on like that. So he went to visit the real Harmon College to see how a normal university actually worked. But what he saw there was just another extreme. The classes were boring, the rules were rigid, and everyone was moving through life like machines, chasing degrees and resumes. It was also at Harmon that Bartleby saw Monica Moreland again, the girl he had always liked. Monica was taking a bunch of classes she did not even enjoy just to earn a degree, and had even given up photography, the one thing she really wanted to study. Watching her rush around campus, Bartleby began to realize that maybe college did not have to follow that same old formula. After he returned to South Harmon, and with some inspiration from Ben Lewis, he decided to run the school in a different way. Instead of telling students what they had to study, he asked them a different question first. What do you actually want to learn? The moment he asked that, the entire school came alive. Some people wanted to learn cooking. Some wanted to learn rock music. Some wanted to learn meditation, sculpture, motorcycles, photography, and even how to blow things up with their minds. Bartleby wrote all of it on the board, letting each student teach what they were good at and learn what they actually cared about. Little by little, South Harmon began to take on its own identity. There were no fixed textbooks and no rigid majors. Everyone was both a student and a teacher. Hans started teaching sculpture. Glenn experimented with all kinds of bizarre food. Rory organized meditation classes. And somehow the whole place felt more alive than any real school. As South Harmon grew more exciting, Monica was drawn to it too. She started reconnecting with photography and gradually began to see the problems in her relationship with her boyfriend, Hoyt Ambrose. Hoyt was the student body president at Harmon and Dean Van Horn's favorite. While helping with Harmon's expansion project, he also set his sights on South Harmon and wanted it gone. Bartleby clashed with him several times trying to protect the school, and Hoyt ended up hating him for it. Meanwhile, Sherman kept trying to fit into Harmon's fraternity. He bent over backward to please them, but they never truly accepted him. They only mocked him, humiliated him, and kept making him do ridiculous and degrading things. Bartleby could see that Sherman was destroying himself, but Sherman convinced himself it was just tradition, and that if he endured it long enough, he would finally belong. Compared to that, South Harmon was chaotic, but at least nobody there was forcing anyone to pretend to be someone else. Things truly spiraled out of control after a party. That night, Monica came to South Harmon and finally saw what the place really was, and what Bartleby was actually trying to build. She even started thinking about transferring there. But at the same time, Hoyt was watching too. Later, he took advantage of Sherman's breakdown after all the humiliation he had suffered in the fraternity and forced him to hand over all the evidence connected to South Harmon, including the website and the files proving it was fake. Once Hoyt and Dean Van Horn got their hands on that, they immediately contacted all the students' parents and personally showed up at South Harmon to expose everything in public. The moment the truth came out, the parents exploded. Bartleby's parents were crushed. The other parents also started taking their kids away one by one. Monica did not even stay to hear Bartleby explain himself. The school was quickly shut down, and Bartleby was even facing fraud charges and possible jail time. It looked like the whole ridiculous fake college dream had finally come to an end. But at the lowest moment, a turning point arrived. Bartleby returned to the closed South Harmon and found a letter from the Education Board waiting at the entrance. Because someone had submitted an accreditation application for South Harmon, the board had decided to hold a hearing, and the person who submitted it was Sherman. Only then did Sherman finally admit that he did not want to keep living a life where he had to keep losing his self-respect just to fit into some circle. Instead of being the fourth generation of his family at Harmon, he would rather be the very first real student of South Harmon. On the day of the hearing, every South Harmon student showed up. The officials said that a real college had to meet 3 conditions: facilities, courses, and teachers. Dean Van Horn stood nearby, waiting to watch them fail.